Okay, so full disclosure, before we do get into this video, I've been awake for so long that when I made this video, I definitely rambled a little bit. I'm spending a lot more time talking about and expanding upon certain topics now that we're, talking about more quote-unquote controversial things on the channel. And so I've got a lot in this brain o' mine to splat onto the timeline of Vegas. So anyways, without further ado, let's go ahead and get on into the video. Ladies and gentlemen, have I got an interesting video topic for you guys today? As I'm sure we all know, the Kwite situation is slowly coming to a close. I'm pretty sure some stuff came out about Orion trying to change her story. I still have to look into that. I just saw it on my YouTube recommended, but for the most part, the situation is coming to a close. Well, regardless of that, we're here today to make another video on the whole Kwite situation. Okay, no, it's not actually like that, all right, fellas? I actually found a really interesting situation for us to go over today. It just so happened to involve Kwite as well, which honestly is just majorly beneficial for me. Now, a very small commentary YouTuber that goes by the name of Nefarious, who has quickly become one of my favorite commentary YouTubers.
If Orion is lying about Kwite her, how do you know she's not lying about being trans? You don't.
YouTubers in general, I actually really like this guy. Oh, he makes music too, yo, what? Now, the commentary YouTuber known as Nefarious ended up having a screenshot taken of one of his replies in his own comment section, which, because of the nature of the comment, ended up going very viral on Twitter after a transgender anime profile tweeted it out. Okay, dude, go figure. I'll go ahead real quick and read you guys the comment that Nefarious left on his channel that ended up making Twitter go berserk. Nefarious left a comment on his channel that read, "I will not respect the pronouns of an abuser who appropriates trans culture for social sympathy points. You're allowed to call me transphobic, and while I might not agree with you, I will defend to the death your right to call me whatever you want, because I am an adult who understands the value of free speech, so say what you will, but I refuse to comply to your demands." And honestly, if you ask me, there wasn't really anything nicer he could have said in regards to, simply conveying his own opinion. But if you're allowed to have the opinion of being a biological, natural-born male, and then you all of a sudden decide that you're a female, because that's your opinion, that's how you feel. Oh, yeah, right, but you'll try and have the conversation with me that's completely different, right? That's completely different. Only it's not. Like, not even a little bit, because it's an opinion. It's not something based in fact. It's not something based in reality, right? It's just a way that you feel, Whether you try and give me this big, long, detailed explanation of what gender dysphoria is, and that's not the point I'm making. I acknowledge the fact that gender dysphoria is very real. I understand that sometimes men can be born feeling like they should have been born women. I'm not saying that's not the case at all. My point is, regardless of whether you want to say something that's based in fact in whatever capacity or not, you could say whatever you want, and you pretty much immediately gain public support. Because here's the thing, dude, if you're a creator of any kind, any size, no matter what, and even if you're not, even a little bit progressive, right? What are you gonna do? You're gonna call out a transgender person, even if they just say they're trans on Twitter? What are you gonna just deny a twitlonger that comes out, levying heavy allegations against a completely innocent person that ends up all being lies, but because they were trans, nobody wanted to actually call them out for not having any evidence because they were part of the sacred LGBT community? You can't even tell me that wasn't a large influencing factor on why everybody believed Orion at first. In one of my last videos on this topic, I had said something along the lines of Orion tried to portray himself as the feminine throughout the situation and played the gender card because he knew that people would believe these kinds of allegations at face value more if he portrayed himself as the feminine. But honestly, I think they played the trans card. I'm not gonna lie, because it's literally, what do you say to somebody who comes out with allegations about, literal sexual assault and they're trans? Some people are probably gonna be sitting here watching this video and being like, what does them being trans have to do with anything? Well, it has everything to do with everything when it's on twitter.com, dude. Are you kidding me? It all happened very recently. For anybody that wants to deny what I'm saying right now, it all happened very recently. I absolutely adore that this situation just took place between Kwite and Orion, as sadistic as that sounds. I am honestly happy it took place because, now I can actually point to something and be like, yeah, it actually kind of went that way. I've been talking about this social dynamic for a long time now, and a lot of other people have too. I'm not gonna sit here and act like I started the conversation, because I certainly didn't. It's been around for a very long time now. There's very, very few people are actually willing to acknowledge the reality of this kind of social dynamic that's created with the new woke culture that is really, well, after the Kwite situation, clearly kind of problematic. The literal argument that people have been making on the right against transgenderism for so long now is that simply the confusion that is created with transgenderism in society, simply put, it can be problematic. If you as a free citizen can say absolutely anything under the sun to me, which I'm okay with, you're not gonna hurt my feelings, I promise you. But if that is the case and you can use your free speech whenever you want and say whatever you want about me and, you know, even my family members, if you wanted to, take it as far as you want. Be completely extreme and brutal with me, you know, and that's fine. There's no actual legalities around that. And thankfully, there's no legalities around misgendering somebody or mispronouncing them. That would be just fucking ridiculous. But one thing I do want to point out is that we are currently and have been at a point for many years now where people can literally make gay jokes. People could literally give a really, you know, neutral, fair opinion on transgenderism or anything like that. Anything that falls under that umbrella. And I mean, if that clip ends up falling into virality, which is honestly something that does make me a little bit nervous. I mean, if I ever blew up, that would be a scary thing for me. I'm not gonna lie. I'm fine with gradually building an audience the way that I am right now, because you guys are clearly loving the content. But there gets to a certain point where it doesn't matter how insightful you are. It doesn't matter how long you spend articulating your points. It just doesn't matter. People don't want to hear it 99% of the time. A really interesting concept that I've been thinking about myself lately is even if what people don't want to hear is coming from themselves, they'll still ignore it. This might seem a little bit unrelated, so I'm sorry if it is and I'm just going off on a random tear. But have you guys ever really looked into why we have a mental health crisis going on right now? Why this is the worst generation for mental health that we've ever had in the history of mankind? It's because people don't know how to be honest with themselves and subsequently other people as well. But my point is, and again, I'm sorry if this is like a random tear. I'm working on a project on the side right now that's going to take me quite a while because it's a very in-depth project. This is the kind of stuff I'm going to be talking about in that video. So, but to wrap my point about all this up, the fact that people are so brutally incapable of being honest with themselves is undeniably the #1 reason I would say that we're having such a mental health crisis. Anybody that's ever done even like a modicum of inner work knows that you can't just go to a therapist and have them do 95% of the work. It's just not how it works. Think about it like this, dude. All knowledge is learned. Knowledge as we know it has never been created. Obviously, it had to at some point, and I'm not saying that, but all knowledge, everything you come to understand as a human being is learned. So, all this information that even if you're the stupidest fucking person, you have no emotional intelligence whatsoever, and you go in and you speak to a therapist and they're still able to, you know, have breakthrough moments with you and genuinely help you with your mental health, where do you think they got that information from? You know, because it had to come from a college, but then where did the curriculum for the college come from, right? Like, somebody already walked the road that you need to walk to feel better, only they did it with no help. All they had was time within themselves. That's it. And that's something that people don't take enough of nowadays. Let's wrap back to the actual relevant portion of this video. I promise you these two things are a little bit interconnected at least. I'm not saying every person that panders and is biased on the internet or is just genuinely unrealistic with themselves in how they perceive things. I'm not saying they're all like completely mentally unstable, but it would track. It would make sense. I don't know, man. Maybe this is just a personal thing, but I feel like lacking critical, independent thought. And I know that that just sounds like a buzzword, but I really do mean it, like, in the true sense of the term when I say it. Lacking critical and independent thought. I mean, maybe it's not the worst, most severe mental instability, but not allowing yourself to see things objectively, that has to be, like, that should be a mental disorder of some sort. It absolutely should be. If you're letting your ego control you so much to where you're not actually able to look at things from an unbiased perspective, like, you can think what you want about a situation, of course, that's authentic nature, that's authenticity. But when you're looking at a situation and you're literally, even if it's just 1% of you, like a 0.1% of you, that knows you're being dishonest with yourself, that's mental instability, if you ask me. Hey, editing Buster here. You can't see what I have in the background right now, but it's gonna blow your fucking mind that I couldn't think of this on the spot in the video. It's delusion. Delusion. That's what the mental illness is. I mean, like, why could I not think of that? It's very obvious. Editing Buster here again. I swear I'm not going to talk your ear off too much, but I did just want to expand upon that as I had a bit more of a realization surrounding that in editing. Delusion isn't considered a mental illness because delusion is what leads to mental illness. When you let your ego take over so much that you're unable to see yourself from an objective perspective, that's delusion, and then that's what leads to mental illness because you then start convincing yourself of things that aren't true and excusing your own negative actions and behaviors. Anyways, not that that really mattered or was relevant to this video at all. Let's continue on. Okay, so for the real juice of the video here, fellas, Kwite actually retweeted this, and he had some words of disapproval to say about it. Oh man, Nefarious, Kwite doesn't like you, dude. I mean, what are you gonna do, right? Some dude that makes commentary YouTube videos that, you know, might quit because a situation happened that was, you know, it happens to a lot of people. And I mean, I don't know, dude. I'm just criticizing for the sake of criticizing. I think at this point, Kwite's, you know, in the right to do whatever he wants to do. But when you come out with pussy energy like this, I'm going to treat you accordingly. Especially with you being a gay man and also being the sort of like introspective, like super objective person that I saw you to be in your response to the whole situation. With those two things in mind, it just doesn't really make sense that you would have responded to Nefarious's comment like this. You're an educated person. So the fact that you would have any problem with his comment, it literally makes no sense in reality whatsoever. The guy's comment speaks for itself. He never should have had to rationalize that. That wasn't like a polarizing opinion. That wasn't like, you know, him just trying to rage bait. The comment literally explains itself at face value. Look, I'm arguing with a woman right now. Wait a minute. Let's actually check out their profile. I want to see. Oh, she/her. Oh, I don't know this person. Maybe they're transgender. Maybe they're not. All I know is they have pronouns in the bio and that they pinned this tweet. That's kind of pathetic. And yeah, while it is a little pathetic, this person got like 3.6 million views on this tweet or something like that, and apparently hates this Nefarious guy so much. It's so disgusting what he said. Only if you really believed that, you wouldn't have tweeted this out in the first place, because you wouldn't want such a destructive, disgusting message to be reaching the public even more, right? I mean, based on your own logic, you shouldn't have ever tweeted this out in the first place, right? But not only that, you also still have it pinned. How many hours later? Let's see. You made this tweet on March 13th. It's been 4 days. This kind of shit is disgusting. Then why do you still have it up on your public Twitter account? This is the problem with trying to argue with people like this on Twitter, dude. They don't make sense. They don't actually operate within any sense of logic or ration whatsoever. They're blatant fucking hypocrites. They constantly contradict themselves. And depending on which one you're dealing with, very well may try and use their sexual identity against you, even if that's not what you're talking about, as some sort of arguing point, or make them seem as if they're on some sort of high ground against you. So essentially, as we can see, if we go over to this person's Twitter profile, they have 66 followers, meaning this person has probably gotten little to no interaction on their Twitter account pretty much the entire time it's been up and running. But as soon as this tweet started to gain a little bit of traction, for some reason this Twitter user just decided to pin it to their profile. Again, not really a typical plan of attack for somebody who, you know, genuinely had an issue with what somebody else said online. Not that that happens very often, because most of us online, you know, doing stuff like this are adults. Most of us do understand that if we don't necessarily agree with somebody, that doesn't mean it's, you know, the be-all end-all of us interacting with that person. And I've had a lot of people disagree with me on stances that I feel very passionately and strongly about. Personal experiences that I've gone through that people have like vehemently tried to deny exist in reality to me in debates. Only you don't see me getting completely and utterly delusional in an attempt to try and at least, you know, salvage some of the feelings that these people are hurting of mine. That's also one of the differences, is I'm not a pussy. I don't get my feelings hurt from somebody disagreeing with me. It might take just a little bit more than that. I don't know, dude. Maybe my peers just aren't very relatable to me anymore. Like, have you guys ever seen those like political debate videos where Steven Crowder, for example, will go onto like a college campus? And you know how when you're watching those videos, you see Steven Crowder debating with these super progressive college students, and you actually have to wonder, like, is this set up? Is this person like an actor that Steven Crowder paid to be there? Because there's no fucking way people like this exist. But it turns out those people do exist, and those people that you've seen in Steven Crowder's videos that make you question if they're actually human or not, turns out they just spend their time grifting on Twitter over things that actually have no impact on them or really anybody that they know. You know what? I'm gonna say something really based, and I don't even need to give a huge detailed explanation to it like I usually would with a quote-unquote controversial take, because this one, whether you want to acknowledge it or not, is pretty objective in nature. You will never, ever find somebody virtue signaling more on the internet than a transgender person. Now, if you are transgender and you're hearing me say that, take exactly what I said at face value. okay? Now, the reason I emphasize that so much is because even in the time that I've been on YouTube over the past 2 years, I've noticed a significant rise in the amount of reaching that takes place in the LGBT community. Again, the vocal minority on Twitter, not all of you. The reason I think more and more reaching is taking place from that vocal minority of the LGBT community on Twitter is because, in my opinion, I think people are just becoming more socially educated. I don't want to blame it on the rise of the radical right, but I also can't help but draw attention to, you know, that being kind of when I noticed people start to wise up a little bit. I mean, if you think about it, right? It's literally the rise of an opinion that's opposing literally everything we already doubted as millennials, and quite frankly, doing so in a much more mature, productive manner than anybody else on any other end of the political spectrum ever could have done. I know for certain there's going to be a lot of people watching this video that are going to be outright in denial of that point, but there is one thing that you can't deny, and that's the fact that there's a video with Jordan Peterson debating a woman named Kathy Newman on different things like the gender pay gap and the patriarchy, and that video is 5 years old and has 43 million views, and I assure you that view count has absolutely nothing to do with Kathy Newman's position in that debate. Actually, I really appreciate Kathy Newman as a public figure, honestly, because her making herself look like a fucking idiot that day really opened up the world's mind, at least, you know, the online sphere's mind, to what it's really like to deal with a progressive individual. Oh man, this video was all over the fucking place. I had so much to say on this topic, I guess. I almost feel like a dick for like using Nefarious's name and like his situation in this video because of how much I rambled. I didn't expect that, dude. I expected this to be a 6-minute video. I spent like fucking 6 hours on it. That's a bit of a difference if you ask me. Jeez, man. Anyways, fellas, I do hope I was able to get this video together in a watchable manner. Let me know what you guys thought of this video down below. Like I said, I was up all night last night, and I don't know whether this is going to be decent content or not. So if you guys do enjoy the more rambly content, let me know. I know I've been up for a day, but I also know that I'm not just, you know, shouting into the void about random stuff, right? Yeah, right. Anyways, fellas, if you did enjoy, be sure to leave a like. Again, let me know what you thought of the video down below in the comments. While you're down there, you can check out my pinned comment for my Twitter, as well as Nefarious's channel. To be completely honest with you guys, I thought the Kwite situation was entirely over, and I didn't think we'd have any more content to make on the situation. But thanks to Nefarious, we did. Plus, the guy's content is pretty sweet. I mean, the guy's pretty base too, right? So, now, as of me recording this audio clip, we're at about 14 minutes and 45 seconds into the video. But by the time you're watching it, it'll probably be closer to 20-ish or so, because I completely forgot to touch on the tweet that Kwite had made, basically condemning Nefarious for having the opinion that he has. The fact that I'm telling you guys this right now is absolutely fucking retarded, because you'll have watched this like 5 minutes into the video. Jesus Christ, dude. Holy fuck. Anyways, fellas, with all that out of the way, make sure you go ahead and leave a like on the video if you did enjoy. Let me know again what you thought of the video down in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. Definitely consider subscribing if you are new around here, turning notifications on. And with all that out of the way, I'm out of here. Peace.